I'm Patrick Bailey with Whiteboardcoder.com. Today is January 20th, 2021, and in this video I'm going to be going over installing Prometheus on Ubuntu 2004. Okay, let's get to it. So here, well, to show what I've got right here, if I do an LSB release -A, you can see I have Ubuntu 2004. Now if I go over here to Prometheus.io, that's the Prometheus website, and go to download here. And here's going to be like their latest build. So you may want to go back to a prior build, you don't know, but the latest build, like here is a build that just came out, 120. So we're going to go with that. So I'm going to go down here and click on Linux, AMD 64, and then down here we'll see this, Prometheus 24 Linux AMD TAR GZ, and I'll take that. So I'll right click on that, and I'll say copy link address. Come back over here and we'll start to download the guy. So do a wget and paste that guy in here. And we'll let this guy download real quick. You can see there's my Prometheus 2.4. Now I can also, they also included a SHA in there. So I can say SHA 256 and do that Prometheus file there. And you can see we get this SHA, let's see, 049C0. If I go back here and compare, 049C0. So I got the right file. Life is good. Okay, now we're going to do sudo. Now we're going to do a few things. Sudo user add no create home. Let's see. Shell bin false and Prometheus. Okay, what this is, we're making a special user for Prometheus to run under. So we're adding a user called Prometheus, but we're not going to create a home directory for it. And the shell is going to be bin false, so that people can't become Prometheus easily and have a shell. There are ways around that, but basically it makes Prometheus not able to log in, basically. So there we go. We got that sudo add. Now another thing you can do, which I'm not going to do here, I'll do in another video at some point. I'm looking at my notes over here. If you intend to install a node exporter, you might want to do the same thing for a node exporter user, but I'm not going to do that right now for this video. So now I'm going to make some directories. Now, in my case, on this server here, I've actually made a Prometheus subfolder where I intend to put Grafana, which I did a video on recently, and Prometheus. So I have another folder where I intend to put the data. It just makes it, in my mind, you know, more portable and movable. That's kind of the way I like to do it. So with that in mind, we're going to make some directories. So sudo make directory. Well, etc. Prometheus, that's another place I need to put some stuff. And then var lib Prometheus. And then I'm going to change ownership of that to Prometheus, and etc. Prometheus. Boom. Okay, there we go. And then sudo make directory Prometheus data. That's where I'm going to put my data. And then same thing, change the ownership to Prometheus. And Prometheus data. Exciting. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to take the file that we have here and untar it. So tar xvf and then the Prometheus guy here. Just run that. Expands the whole thing out. Now we're going to move some stuff. So sudo copy Prometheus. Boom. And then Prometheus. There we go. And then user local bin, put that there, sudo copy prom tool and user local bin. Boom. And then we want to change ownership of that. Change owner Prometheus. User local bin Prometheus. And prom tools. Boom. So now we're good on that. Now I'm going to copy over these console files. See, sudo copy Prometheus console to etc. Prometheus. There we go. And same thing for console libraries to etc. Prometheus. Boom. Oh, yeah. How about you do I messed both those up. Let me go back a couple. We want to copy those consoles, but I need to put -R, capital R, because we want to actually move all of that. let me back up again. Console. Consoles. I messed that up too. Consoles. There we go. So I need a dash capital R to copy everything that I want there. And except Prometheus. Boom. Sudo. Same thing, but instead of console libraries. And to etc. Prometheus. Boom. Okay. And change ownership. Dash R Prometheus. Etc. Prometheus, consoles, and the same thing for console libraries. Boom. Okay. Lots of little fun stuff. Okay, now we can do a couple things. So now we're going to create a YAML file for it. So I'll do a YAML file, Prometheus. Oh, well, not there. Sudo by. In my Prometheus file, I'm going to make a Prometheus.yaml file. In this YAML file, I'm going to do a couple of simple settings for this setup. There's a lot more cool things that you can do in here. You can set up console servers. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. But I'm going to keep it simple here. In fact, I'm going to actually remove some of this that I did before. So this is a starting position. So we're going to do a scrape config where we're going to scrape the actual Prometheus here in the localhost 9090. And I did put a node exporter in here, but I'm not installing node exporter locally, so we'll just delete this. So very basic setup, and we'll save that off. And then we're going to change ownership of that. Prometheus.yaml. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we're going to do a quick test just to make sure it's running. So sudo-u Prometheus. So I'm going to run as the Prometheus user, this connects command. And user local bin Prometheus. Boom. And I'm going to do a backslash here, which is kind of like doing a carriage return in a way, so I can go on the next line so you can actually read what I'm doing. --config. And then we'll go to our config file, which is at prometheus.yaml. Another backslash there. And then --storage -tsdb.path. That's where we want our data to be. Prometheus data. Boom. Oh, didn't like that. What do I do? Oh, that should be config file. There we go. Before I do that, let me fix something. Let me exit out of here. Let me log back in because I want to pull ports. I want to pull port 9090 local host 9090 just to make it easier so I can pull it up really easy what's going on. Okay. Sudo-user Prometheus. User local, then Prometheus, /config, file, there we go. Prometheus, okay, Prometheus.yaml, and storage.tsdb.path, Prometheus data, boom. Oh, config.file. Third time's a charm, right? The charm. I can't even speak right now. Third time's a charm. Let's try the third time. It's always fun watching someone else make little goofy mistakes here. User local bin Prometheus /config.file Prometheus.yaml, storage.tsdb.path, and Prometheus data. Okay. Boom, we're running. Cool. Now I'm going to go over here and check. Since I pulled ports, I can go to localhost 9090 on my current computer and pull the ports. Since I pulled the ports, I can see it. So we're good. We're running. Something is there. Now what I'm going to do next is set up systemd. So this will automatically restart in the way that I want. So let's go do that right now. Okay, on to systemd. So I will cancel that. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do sudo vi let's see. lib systemd system and then Prometheus.service. So we're making a whole new file, never existed before, nothing's there at all. open this guy up, and I'm going to cut and paste and kind of walk through some of this. Also, since it might be hard to cut and paste from a video, you can go to whiteboardcoder.com, and I did post this article just recently, so you can probably cut and paste this. That might be a little easier. Okay, so here we are. I won't go into too much detail. Well, I won't go into everything. So here's the Prometheus, simple. It's going to run as the user Prometheus and the group Prometheus. Man, we ran into an issue once at work, so I like to set that big. Infinite cores. These are a little overkill. Other things I did here, it always restarts. If there's an issue, it'll restart. And also, personal preference, I always make it wait. I like to have it wait a little bit before it restarts. So this actually waits 10 seconds before restart. But all the rest is pretty cut and dry. Here we are. We're running that same command we ran before with a couple of other floofies. So we have the web console on here, referring to those files. Log levels info. That's probably an overkill, but you can go comment that out. But it might be a good place to start if you're trying to debug some stuff. I'm going to leave that info right now. Another thing is how long you restore your data. How long are you going to store your data? I think the default is 15 days. Don't quote me on that. But here I got it set to 400 days because I want to retain my data for more than a year. In fact, I might edit that. You know, this is my server. I don't have that much data, so I might go to 900 days. Why not? Well, 1,000 days. It'll give me 3 years, right? Okay. But more data, more storage. Make sure you're thinking that through because you don't want to overwhelm your system. Okay, so now we'll save that. And we can test to see if it works. We'll do a sudo system control status Prometheus. And there you go. We got something. It's not running right now, but we can see that we are there. So the next thing I want to do is we do want to enable it. So sudo system control enable Prometheus. If I can spell Prometheus. There we go. Now if I do a status on it again, you should see it is enabled. Boom. So what I'll do right now, well, let me just lazily reboot. I like to reboot. So right now it is not running, but if I do a reboot, it should auto restart. So we'll do a reboot on the server. Give it a second to come back up. And again, I'm going to pull port so I can more easily view this locally. Okay, there we go. We're up again. So now if I look at the status of it, we should see that it is running. So we are running now. And if I go look over here and pull this up at 9090, boom. Oh, something doesn't like that. Between my browser and the server. Oh, okay, it's behaving now. Okay, so there we go. We have it working. It's working on the reboot. So let's actually do something slightly interesting on it. So what we can do is we can come down here. So now we want to pull some data. So right now we actually have a little bit of data coming into there. So it is actually pulling data from itself. So if I go to 9090 metrics, we can see for those, if you're new to Prometheus, this is Prometheus formatted data. So /metrics is typically where you're pulling information from. And we've got it here. So there's stuff here. So we proved we've got data. But we proved that there's data out there. We think we're connected to it, but are we actually? So the first thing I can do is go to status, go to targets. And over here, I should see, oh, we're out of bounds. Okay. Oh, you know what? I had this happen earlier. Here's a good example of something bad going on. Let me see if I can fix this. This happened earlier. I thought there was a bug. Don't know why. Where it got confused on a reboot. So it got confused where all of a sudden it thought it was -7 hours, and that should not happen. So let me stop and start this again. We'll stop it, we'll start it, and we'll see if that goes away. I had this happen before where on a reboot, I had this strange error out of bounds with this negative timestamp. But then I did a reinstall of the whole system and it was fine. Okay, so there we go. That's been fixed. Really annoying though. But now it's telling me, hey, I'm hitting this guy, and I scraped it 2 seconds ago. Life is good, it's pulling down data. But now we want to actually see what data we're getting. We should be getting this data. So I could go over here and pull any data point and query it. But I'll go over here and say, go to graph, and I will choose, it'll do an auto completion here for you too, which is nice. So I'll just say Prometheus, target, interval, length seconds. There we go. Boom. And hit execute. And we have an empty query. Go to graph. And we have some data. But you can see the data is time shifted here. And that is a problem. Okay. Okay, normally when you run this, you should be getting data. And I had this happen earlier, and I ran through the same procedure I just ran through, and it was fine. So now I'm questioning my sanity. So, this is a good example of something bad happening. And if something bad happens, if this particular thing happens to you, if you execute and you think you should be getting data, there should be data here. If you go to your graph and just expand your time frame out, even to a day, and if you see data here, there's something going on. This just happened to me. I don't know why. This happened to me with my data. I did a lot of testing on this, and the time it was putting the wrong timestamp. The computer was right. My computer was right. I don't know why I was getting a bad timestamp. So let me go do a whole reinstall. I don't think you need to. This is just, I've been trying to figure out why this occurred, and I don't know why. But earlier, I installed it, did a whole full reinstall, and problem went away. So let me see. I'm going to run through the exact same procedure I just ran through, and let's see. I'm going to wipe everything out, reinstall everything, and see if I'm okay. Okay, it took me a couple of days, but I found out what my problem is. So let me walk you through this. So if I do a sudo reboot, I'll reboot this computer. It's a timing issue. So I have a ESXi server. This is running as a virtual server on there. And obviously my ESXi time on my server is way off. So when the virtual server starts up, its time is way off. It eventually syncs up with the time and corrects itself. But luckily, for testing purposes in my case, it takes a while. It takes like 30 seconds for it to sync up. So it really exposes itself in here. And what I found out, and I'll show some notes here, is, there we go. So here we are. So there's the time, 13 right now. And this is going to change pretty quickly. It'll take about 30 seconds. And we'll see the time gets synced up. And what I found out in my research is it looks like Prometheus is pretty good about its timing. However, when it starts up, if all of a sudden the clock changes after it started up, that can throw things into chaos. So we need to get that fixed. And so, okay, there we go. So we see, boom, the time got fixed. And it is vastly different. So that's what's causing this issue. So what I've done right now is I've gone back, redone a whole reinstall, but I have not enabled Prometheus. So if I do a status on Prometheus, we can see that it is disabled. So boom, we are disabled. So that's where I want to be right now. So what I want to do, let me go show the notes here real quick. So first of all, when I was searching for the out of bounds error, I found this site. So here's from Prometheus. This is where they were starting to talk about it, and that's where they mentioned, hey, the code could get a little messed up if your timing is off, if you reset your time. So that kind of gave me a clue. And I also did a couple of tests where I did not start it until 5 minutes in, and then everything was fine. So I went, okay, this is the issue. I need to go. And then I figured out, hey, let me figure out how in systemd can I tell Prometheus not to start until the time has been synced. And so I found a couple of websites on that. Here's one, and I'll put a link in the show notes that kind of went through some of the notes, but didn't quite use what they mentioned. But one that got me a little closer was this one, the Raspberry Pi. And then down here where Gerondol something mentioned some of this, that's where I used a lot of this stuff right here, and that worked pretty well for me. But now let me walk you through what I did. So here I am. What I first need to do is I need to enable the time. So sudo system control enable, and they have now, but you don't need to actually put that now in there. There's a system D time wait /sync dot service. We need to enable that guy. Oh, and actually spell system control correctly. Boom. So now it's enabled, and so now I can go down here and look at the status, and I should see it's enabled. Just want to confirm. Boy, my typing's not good today. There we go, status. Okay, we can see it is enabled. Perfect. Okay, so on next reboot, it'll start up. So now what I want to do is I want to go edit let me see. Edit my systemd file I made from before. So sudo vi, let's see, lib systemd system and Prometheus service. So go edit that. And now, if you're unfamiliar with systemd, I'm okay on systemd. One thing I want to know here is this once and after. That is going to look at things and say, hey, I'm not going to start up until these things are running or after they're running. So what I'm going to do is change both of them, and I'll copy it to this time sync, which now is enabled, so it'll run. If you didn't have it enabled, you'd kind of be messed over, so it's not going to work. So I'm going to say time sync, target, and after time sync target. So now Prometheus should not start unless those things have occurred. So now we'll do that. But now I haven't enabled Prometheus. I'll do a sudo system control status Prometheus, and I should see Prometheus is currently disabled. But I want to enable it, so it'll start on the next run. Enable, boom. Now we're enabled. So now we should be good to go. So now, next reboot, when we see the bad time, Prometheus won't be running. Once the time gets corrected, Prometheus will start up. So let's reboot. And hope that we're okay. Okay, so now we can see our date's bad. If I look at the status of Prometheus, it's not running yet. It's enabled, but you can see it is not running yet because our date is still goobed. Still goobed. If I look at it again, still not running. Date's still messed up. There we go. Date's been fixed. And so now, Prometheus has started. Perfect. So I think we're good now. But one way to do this, and I'll put this in, it probably might be better to go look at the Whiteboadcoder post I put to do this journal CD. So here, let me post up here. So here we are looking at the journal. So we're saying, hey, look at the journal for the system time, time wait, time sync, and Prometheus, and this will kind of go in order. So we can see here, we're starting things up, you know, things are adjusting, time is being resynced, whatnot, and then reach target system, time has been synced. Now we start Prometheus. So we can see this is working correctly. In fact, here we have these bad times. But we can see Prometheus does not start until the time has been synchronized. So I think we should be good. In fact, I've done a few tests. I think we're fine. So now, if I go over here into Prometheus and I go to targets, do a refresh here, we're looking good. It looks like we're scraping. There's no errors here. I think we're good. And then if I go over here into, if I go pull up the metrics, we got some metrics. We're looking good. And then if I go in here and go to graph, we should be able to pull in some graph information. Let's see, what was I using before? Let me go. What was I using before? Now I forgot which one I was using before, but I can probably use any of these guys. Let's see. Where's mission information? There we go. Request. There we go. Requests. Potentially. There we go. Let's try that one. So I'll put in this information here. Hit enter. Data. There's data right there without changing my time, without tweaking things. That tells me right now that I'm good. I go to my graph, run the same thing, and I can see there is data. In fact, we'll reduce the resolution. And we can see something's happening, data's happening, so it's happening at the right time. In fact, I can go to if I click on use local time here, it's early in the morning, 9:25, 9:25, right? So, boom, that was my problem. It took a lot to dig into it, but that was what was happening. And now, this is probably a good idea if you're doing a system D setup for Prometheus. You probably don't want to start until your time is synced. So this is probably a much better system D file to use. Get your time synced, get started, so that you don't have this potential. Now, yeah, maybe 99 times out of 100, your time would be so, when you start your computer, your time would be so close to true that it's not an issue. You know, maybe you're off by a few milliseconds or even 5 seconds, and you refresh yourself, you'll probably not even notice this issue at all. But if you're in this weird situation like me where you're 8 hours off or 7 hours off or whatever it is, a lot, it just explodes and you can obviously see it. So probably a good idea just to cover your bases. Make sure your time is synced. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @whiteboardcoder.com. View any code I may have thrown up as a gist at GitHub under the username PatmanDenver, or check out my blog site at whiteboardcoder.com.